All right, so today we're talking about surface area and volume of rectangular prisms and cylinders. We're going to start with the rectangular prisms because you guys have already done this last year. You did this in 6th grade with your 6th grade math teachers. So you should recognize that shape as a rectangular prism. The L stands for length, the W stands for width, and the H stands for height. So we know that the volume equals length times width times height. Whenever you have letters right beside each other, you know that that means to multiply. So these numbers are side by side, so we know we're multiplying. For surface area, we have to do 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times length times height, plus 2 times width times height. And we're going to be writing down these formulas when we're doing the surface area and the volume problems. Okay, so make sure you have these copied down before you move on. So we're going to go ahead and start with these problems. You should have a copy of this on your desk. If you do not, you need to raise your hand. I do need you to go ahead and make some changes on this paper. It should say surface area and volume. And then make sure that you write volume below where it says surface area, because we're going to find the surface area and the volume for each of these rectangular prisms, and when we get to cylinders. Okay, so make sure you have that written down. Oh my goodness. I love my smart board. All right. So first we are going to do volume because it's a much shorter formula. And every single time you need to rewrite the formula. If you're not writing the formula, it's so much easier to make a mistake. So you have to write the formula every time. So volume equals length times width times height. So now we need to go and look at our shape and label it. So 3 is our height, 1 is our width, 1 is our length. Technically, it really doesn't matter which one you label length, width, and height because the commutative property says we're allowed to multiply in any order and still get the same answer. So now I'm going to plug in the numbers, and I'm putting parentheses because I know that that means multiplication, and I know that I have to substitute in those numbers. So L is first, and my number for L is 1. W is next, and my number for W is also 1. And then next is H, and my number for H is 3. So we know that we're just multiplying because anytime that letters are beside each other, that means to multiply. So we're going to do 1 times 1 times 3. And we end up with a volume of 3 feet cubed. It's cubed because it is 3-dimensional. 3 is our volume. Surface area is a much longer formula. But it's actually a shortcut instead of doing it a different way. So surface area equals 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. So make sure that you're writing down the formula. Now we know we need to go through and plug in our numbers. I'm putting in parentheses where I'm plugging in the numbers because it means multiplication and that I have to change that letter to a number. So my L is 1. So wherever there's an L, I'm going to put a 1. My W is also 1. So wherever there is a W, I'm going to put a 1. My H is 3, so wherever there is an H, I'm going to put a 3. And again, we did this at the very beginning of the year when we did order of operations and substitution. So this isn't new either. So now I need to do my order of operations, which means I have to multiply. So I'm going to do 2 times 1 times 1, which gives me 2. Then I'm going to do 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 times 3, which is 6. And then I'm going to do 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 times 3, which also gives me 6. Now I need to add those three numbers together. And we get 14. So our surface area, I can't scroll up, hold on one second. Okay, well it's not going to let me scroll up right now. Our surface area is 14 feet squared. Again, our surface area is 14 feet squared. So we're going to skip number 2. You guys are going to try that on your own in a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and skip to number 3. Okay. So I'm going to need you to go ahead and write volume underneath of where it says surface area. And then we're going to do volume first because it's a much shorter formula. So again, volume equals length times width times height. And if you forget, you don't have to memorize these. They're going to be given to you on your SOL test, and if you do any eye tests, you have that formula sheet that you can click on. So volume equals length times width times height. So I wrote the formula because you always have to write the formula. Then now I need to plug in my numbers. So I need to go ahead and label. So my width is going to be 3, my length is 8, and my height is 2. So for my L, I'm going to put 8. For my width, I'm going to put 3. And my height, I'm going to put 2. And now I just need to multiply. I know 8 times 3 is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. So 48 meters cubed is my volume. Okay, if you have questions, raise your hand. We're going to talk about surface area now. And again, surface area is a much longer formula, but you still have to write the formula every single time. It's to help you make less mistakes. So 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. And again, you don't have to memorize it. Look back at what you just wrote down from the very beginning of this video. So now that I have it written, I have to plug in my numbers. So my L is 8, so wherever there is an L, I'm going to put an 8. My W is 3, so wherever there is a W, I'm going to put 3. My height is 2, so wherever there is an H, I'm going to put 2. So now I'm going to do some multiplying before I add. The commutative property says we're allowed to change the order that we multiply, and it's easier for me to do in my head 8 times 3, which is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 8 is 32. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then I have to add 48 plus 32 plus 12, and we get 92. And that's going to be meters squared. So 92 meters squared is our surface area. Again, if you have questions, make sure you raise your hand or write down your questions. And you can stop the video, and you're going to do number 2 and 4 on your own, possibly for homework.